Today I want to talk about the Polyend Tracker Plus and Tracker Mini's Superpower. Freebeat. Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome to Freebeat. Today's patron shout out goes to Joel Raid. Thank you so very much for the support. Also, I'm very proud to announce that today's video is sponsored by Polyend, so a huge thank you to them. Although I will say this is a video I've been wanting to make for a while, so let's get started. This is the Nintendo Switch. At over 7 years old, I'm guessing most of you know what this does, but it's a gaming console that allows you to play your games on the go in handheld mode, and then put it into a dock when you get home to play those same games on a big screen with a proper controller. Essentially, it allows you to have the same consistent gaming experience whether you're on the go or at home. I've been after something that performs similarly to this in the electronic music hardware world for a long time now. And I mean, I know there's pieces of gear that allow you to work on something portably on the go and then export your stems and finish it in a DAW, but I'm a hardware guy. I try to stay away from the computer when I'm working on music, even if I'm here in the studio. That's where the Polyend Tracker Plus and Tracker Mini come in. The Tracker Plus is a solid piece of kit with 48 pads, button per screen navigation, full arrow keys, a jog wheel, and a huge screen, whereas the Tracker Mini, on the other hand, is a much smaller, battery-operated piece of gear that trades some of the physical features of the Tracker Plus for portability. However, deep down, these two pieces of gear are identical. So let's talk about the superpower mentioned in the title of this video. Like I said, these two pieces of gear at their core are identical. They have the same UI, they have the same sequencer, the same effects, the same synth engines, the same song mode, the same performance mode. The only difference really is how you navigate the UI. Everything else is the same. So here's the superpower. Because they are identical, you can literally take the SD card out of one of these devices and put it into the other, and everything carries over. I'm talking your projects, your synths, your samples, your settings, everything carries over between the two devices, and all you have to do is swap the micro SD card from one to the other. This makes the Tracker Mini and Tracker Plus the first pieces of gear that I've used that essentially function like my Nintendo Switch. Think of the Tracker Mini as handheld mode and the Tracker Plus as docked mode. And I know there's going to be some of you out there that are doubting that it's really that simple, but literally all you have to do is pop the SD card out and put it into the other one. I'm not sure if Polyend recommends it, but you can even do it when they're running. And it'll be like, please insert SD card. As soon as you pop it out, you put it in the other one and it works. It's crazy. Maybe don't do it when they're running though. It's probably not good for it. Now, let me just take a minute to recognize that this is not going to be for everyone. First of all, I mean, Polyend's sponsoring this video, but I'm not going to pretend like $1,500 is not a lot of money, and that's what it costs to get your hands on the Mini and the Plus. Also, they're both trackers, so if you're not into trackers, this is really not going to be your thing at all. However, if you're like me and you love trackers, and you happen to own both of these pieces of gear, then you are in for a pretty awesome experience. Last week, I started working on a piece of music in my studio on my Tracker Plus. I began to like where it was going, so I fired up the camera and filmed a little bit of the experience, as I often do. So here's where the track was sitting when I wrapped it up for the day. That weekend, my wife and I took a little miniature vacation to Sun River, Oregon with her family. Right before we left, I grabbed the micro SD card out of the Tracker Plus, put it into the Tracker Mini, put that into its case, and threw it in my backpack. What's actually funny is Sun River, Oregon is where I filmed my original Polyend tracker unboxing, which was 2 years ago. And then last year, that's also where I filmed a lot of my Tracker Mini overview videos. So at this point, Sun River, Oregon and the Polyend trackers are kind of synonymous for me. It's kind of fun. It was really neat using the Tracker Mini on this trip. While we were there, we played a lot of games, and a lot of them involved dice. So I grabbed the Tracker Mini, and using the onboard microphone, I sampled a dice roll, which sounded pretty cool. And the house that we stayed at also has a ping pong table, so I sampled myself serving a ping pong ball, which also wound up being pretty cool sounding. And thanks to the portability of the Tracker Mini, while everyone else was napping, I grabbed the Mini and some headphones and walked out to the river, to the edge of the river, found a spot, and continued to work on my track. Like I said earlier, everything carries over between the two devices, so I was literally picking up exactly where I had left off a couple days prior on the Tracker Plus. I turned the dice sample into a few various percussive elements simply by playing with some of the filtering and the pitch. This really brought the C section that I made while I was sitting there on the edge of the river to life, and I really like how the low-pitched one kind of meanders for a bit here. I actually wound up turning the ping pong sample into a pseudo-pitched arpeggio instrument for the main melody section. All I did there was carefully trim the sample, dial in a little bit of reverb and delay, and then set the pan to be modulated by an LFO. When I got home from vacation, I swapped the SD card back over to the Tracker Plus and started working in song mode on the overall arrangement. And while it's not done yet, I'm pretty happy with the progress. By the way, I do have a video on the best song mode tip for the Polyend trackers, so be sure to check those out. I'll link that video in the description and it'll pop up at the end of the video too. So needless to say, I've done a lot of switching between the Tracker Mini and the Tracker Plus lately, and I've come to realize that even when I'm at home, I still prefer the Tracker Plus and the Tracker Mini for different things. For instance, when it comes to just like starting from scratch on something from nowhere, I really prefer the Tracker Plus. Having the pads to audition melodies and rhythms and things like that, I think is really nice compared to just having to plug it into the sequencer and just go from there. It's nice to be able to audition things. The pads are also great when it comes to naming things. Having the letters of the alphabet mapped across the pads is really nice and convenient. So your tracks, your patterns, your samples, your projects, naming things is a lot faster on the Plus if you're not using the auto name feature. However, in my opinion, on the Mini, it's easier to dial things in, like clean up little, specific sections of a pattern. And I think that's just due to the orientation of the D-pad on the Mini being on the left and the big plus, big minus, little minus buttons being on the right. You can incrementally adjust things really, really easily that way. And I don't know, I just find myself like laying on the couch or laying in bed and really fine-tuning like synth presets or effects values for my sequencer lanes. So this makes the process of creating an overall framework for a piece of music on the Tracker Plus, and then switching over to the Mini to dial things in, and then switching back to the Plus to dial in an arrangement and name things, a very satisfying one. I really have come to love the workflow between these two pieces of gear and almost treating them as one instrument that kind of, I don't want to say breaks in two, but it's like one instrument made of two parts. It's very interesting. I really like it. The seamlessness with which you can switch between them too with just the SD card swap, I mean, it literally takes seconds. It's so cool, and if you happen to own both of these pieces of gear and haven't tried working on one piece of music between the two of them, give it a shot. You're going to be surprised at just how good it really is. I do hope you found this video informative or at least entertaining. If you did, be sure to leave a like on it. If not, you can always leave a dislike. That's okay too. Hey, it's like my first proper sponsored video, I think, yeah? It's got to be one of the first ones. You can dislike that if you want. Boo, sellout. Yeah, it doesn't hurt my feelings, just makes me try that much harder next time. Either way, be sure to hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Thank you all so very much for being here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.